Hey, thanks everybody. I'm honored to be here. It's the first time we've been at the Metals Investor Forum, and I thank Chan. He's been in the last couple of financings. We listed in the TSX Venture in 2019, and we got an option agreement on the Ruby Creek molybdenum deposit for $2.5 million in cash and shares. Moly's become pretty hot lately. We've done a pretty good job. It's a little bit of a digression here. I've been an investor for almost 40 years, and I don't really like the way the junior mining sector's run. You can't have a bunch of people drawing six-figure salaries and going out for dinner and rolling back and all these things. So I'm trying to take a business approach. I'm a businessman first and an investor. I do all kinds of financings, and I just had an opportunity to put an amazing team together and build a company. We're value investors. We buy stuff when it's cheap and it's out of favor and try and monetize them. A disclaimer of a few forward-looking statements, the usual. We have four projects. Our key projects are, number one is the Ruby Creek project near Outland, British Columbia. That's where the ADNAC, formerly the ADNAC, but it's called the Ruby Creek molybdenum project, is located. We'll typically fly to Whitehorse and drive 2 hours south to Outland. Our project's road accessible. We have some projects in southwest Arizona too. We currently have 38.5 million shares outstanding, 28.2 insider. Mr. Sprott has just contributed another $1 million, so he'll go back to insider status. So I think that number will be more like 35%. I've also got a group of about 25% of our shareholders are long time. I run some fly fishing businesses. There's people I've traveled all over the world fly fishing with, and they know me and they trust me, and they know I'm a shareholders' rights advocate, and I put the shareholders' needs ahead of our own. So we do things a bit differently. I draw a $2,000 a month salary, which I think is a bit unrealistic, but until we can really monetize it and make money for our shareholders, I don't think there's the money there for all the big salaries. And I'm the highest paid on our executive team other than our VPX. We also use one of my fishing tackle stores in Vancouver as an office, and no one playing any games and management fees. Keep costs down to a minimum. I'll talk about why Stuhini a bit later. The key to running a business is your people. You're only as good as your people. I'm extremely proud of our board and our executive team. I don't have time to go all of them here, but Hassan's here, our VPX. I taught Hassan to fly fish when he was a teenager, he was 18 years old. Charles and I went to UBC together. I studied mathematics, and Charles went on to get a law degree at NYU as a corporate secretary. Yan is a brilliant CFO, and I'm very proud of my board as well. So I'm very proud of my team, and you're only as good as your people. There's a picture of the Ruby Creek deposit right there, and that's where the pit's going to be. It's a gentle depression. It's in a good location. The part of the lake will be the very northern edge of the pit, and you can see all that's road accessible. Ledcor did a road upgrade back in the day. When ADNAC had the project in 2005, 6, 7, 8, they advanced the project through bankable feasibility into actual mine construction. It was fully permitted. They started building the mine. In 2008, the price of molybdenum collapsed. You can see all the drill pads there. It's all drilled out, went through bankable feasibility. And we'll have to redo feasibility, but some of the things like the metallurgy and some of the geotechnical drillings, it'll be a lot less expensive and hopefully a little faster. We have a very large land position in Outland. When the co-founder of our company, he got the reclamation work to get the bond back, and they realized that the Surprise Lake batholith, when it came in, it was a Cretaceous event about 72 million years ago. The biggest gold camp in Canada is in Outland. There's 10 significant placer creeks, and 7 of the 10 are within our 10 years. And we haven't even had time to drill any of that. There's a lot, and we've also going to show a lot of high-grade silver at surface. And when we really got the molybdenum project to begin with, we were more of an option on molybdenum because it was all drilled out, but no one really cared about it. We have the project's 29,000 hectares. It's 14 kilometers from Outland. We leave Outland within 7 or 8 minutes. We can do 80 kilometers an hour being the edge of our project. We have an option agreement for 100%. We've just about completed that. We'll be completing shortly. Of course, it hosts Ruby Creek, and there's several min files in gold and silver and tungsten within the tenors. There's our land position right there. There's the town of Outland, the bottom there. We rent the Outland cabin, so I've got, for $99 a night, I have a cabin, I house 2 geologists, they have internet, have hot shower, and a food pantry and a kitchenette. We hired MDA from Nevada. Stephen Richards-Ellie did our resource update for us. We want a very, very conservative firm to do the resource update, and we completed the resource update in March last year. They chose to use a .02 cutoff, and there's 433 pounds measured and indicated. That's a pit-constrained resource. It's not a global resource. And, I mean, I got to be careful what I say, but if you take 433 million pounds of molybdenum and multiply by the molybdenum price and convert to Canadian dollars, that's about 10 million ounces of gold equivalent. So it's a very valuable, big deposit. And again, we bought that for $2.5 million. We're 275 kilometers away from the port of Skagway, Alaska. It's a year-round seaport. It has a BC Mines Act permit still in place. And ADNAC had a road upgrade done by Ledcor. It cost $22 million in 2007. I'm told to be at least $30 million to build a road. It's also a climax-style molybdenum deposit. It's a very unusual sort of granite-hosted porphyry system. It's calcic. There's very few toxic elements. And generally, you crush and float with water. So mining's nasty business, but of all the type of mines you're going to build, it's the cleanest type of pit you can build. And one of the BC government recently made a comment that we're building a sandy beach for the people of Outland. We build our tailings ponds, but it's too cold to swim up there anyway. It was just a funny comment. I don't know. I've lost this. I apologize. Oh, there it is there. Yeah. And this is just a block model we had of the hole. What's interesting about the hole, I encourage you to read the technical report. It's open in 3 directions. It's also open at depth. And the very best hole on the very west side there is 8417, which bottomed out in 45 meters at 0.23. Our overall grade is 0.053. So those are certainly underground type grades, and similar to what you see in Henderson, Freeport's Henderson project in Colorado. So there's potentially more meat on the bones, and we don't have the market cap to drill it right now. We're 38 million shares on a 50-cent share price. Our market cap is less than $20 million. Molybdenum's an interesting product because it's quite counterintuitive. Molybdenum is mainly a copper byproduct, so molybdenum supply doesn't match molybdenum demand. That's why there's such a dramatic move in the early 2000s of building up pipelines. But we've been in touch with the International Moly Association and Jeff Christian. There's the people, and they believe that they've been stating for years we have to move to pure play molybdenum deposits. They're very rare. We believe there's about 4 of them in the Western world, outside of Freeport's realm, that are developable. Right now, there's a lot of green energy demand. The World Bank set out 9 green energy initiatives. Molybdenum's involved in 7 to 9. You see the big wind turbines. The ones in the North Sea, you need the gearbox to withstand the elements and last for 25 years. A high molybdenum concentration for durability and hardness and corrosion resistance. And they use 130 kilograms per megawatt. And most of those towers are, I think they're 15 megawatt towers, about a ton and a half of molybdenum per tower. Also, the Germans are lightening the autos. The main use for molybdenum is strengthening steel. When steel becomes stronger, you can go to thinner walled steel while maintaining strength. And the Germans have recently been reducing the weight of automobiles by 25%. Everyone's wondering why molybdenum has such a dramatic price increase. Bloomberg had an article a couple weeks ago, and they just talked about how it's a perfect storm. You have growing demand and falling supply. The big thing is the South American copper mines. Codelco is the world's biggest copper producer, and their production's dropped by 25% in the last couple of years. And I truly believe that molybdenum is simply the canary in the coal mine for all the base metals because, there's 40 years of tremendous underinvestment and the low-grade nature of the new projects going forward. There's going to be shortages, and again, our projects now become potentially economic. And in my opinion, copper has to go to $8 or $10 a pound to make the copper projects economic as well. And I think the world's in for a bit of it's also very inflationary, right? There's shortages of metals coming down the road. Although I talk about a climax style deposit, we're pure play. It's also apparently versus the copper byproduct because you float and use water to recoveries are just under 90%. But typically the copper byproduct you need a lot of reagents, and the tailings are a lot more toxic. And it is a higher quality molybdenum too. There's pure. If you come by our booth, you have chunks of big molybdenite. That's pure moly disulfide, which is what MOS2 is what they mine. So it's a very interesting market, and we're excited. We're in the right place at the right time. We've kept our shares. We're very disciplined with our spending. Going forward, we want to complete the option, get on a PEA, and go back to the desktop review of the environmental study. Again, it's been through feasibility in the past. It's been through environmental permitting. There's a chart of the price of molybdenum, a pretty dramatic move. I don't want to hang my hat on what might be, but if you Google molybdenum batteries, there's a lot of talk about 4 times the capacity of standard lithium batteries. I know they're using moly graphene anodes. They're getting stability. The offshore wind turbines. It's a very key steel alloy too. There's no substitutes for it. And I just say get in early. When you read about it, it's usually too late. Like lithium, you want to get in early, and there's just not a lot of choices in the space. There'll be a lot more players coming out. We believe that. Freeport-McMoran dominates the pure play space, but Centerra has some assets as well. There's some new public listings. We've also, while no one cared about molybdenum under Ruby Creek, we identified a lot of early stage silver showings. And the Ruffner silver mine's been in production a couple times, and Homestake did a bit of work that's distributed back in the day. Over at Silver Surprise, one of our geologists found a sample of silver, and it was different. It wasn't galene. It was more of a sulfide type structure. It came back from the lab running over 14,000 gram. And we've traced a few veins in that area. They're a little more remote, not quite as road accessible. As you can see, the molybdenum deposit right in there. We have identified 4 high priority silver targets. We've done geophysics on the entire project. We've got a very interesting zinc project as well in BC, where there's 100, Teck has those Crown Grant claims in the middle belong to Teck, and there's about 100 million tons of 4% zinc and about 10 million tons of 7. They can't do anything without us, and we've flown an airborne geophysical survey, and you can see it's pretty obvious that the mineralization extends onto our tenures, and this is in southern BC, and that's Arrow Lake just to the right, and Teck is, the trail facility but about an hour away. Q project in the Yukon. I don't have time to talk about all these projects. And we have an interesting nickel project. Tex2 had 165 meters of 0.32% nickel. There's companies in Canada that brag about big swatches that are much lower grade than that. That's sort of a side project of ours. So our projects are all new. They're road accessible. They're underexplored. They're good potential. I like to think our business thing is I run real businesses where we count our paper clips and watch our pennies. Very tight share structure. Eric's been in all but one of our financings. Believe it or not, our first 4 financings didn't have any warrants attached. Where we are seeking a strategic partner, we're trying to initiate talks with several entities and thinking of going to Japan shortly. And I believe we're very undervalued based on the Ruby Creek deposit. And the molybdenum space is starting to wake up. And we have zinc and we have nickel as well. These are critical elements, and we're nimble and cost effective. And the money we raise goes into the ground. So thank you very much. I really appreciate your time, and best of luck to everybody.